Claire, he won't make it.
How long?
Days, maybe?
Then I've got days.
She's gonna sit with a dying bison.
Yep.
He's still down.
He stood up twice yesterday.
Once doesn't count.
I said twice.
When did you last sleep?
I'll sleep when he stands on his own.
Which one is he?
Front, left horn notch.
He's leading them.
Yes, sir.
400 head. He's leading 400 head.
He was always going to. He just needed someone to wait.
Subscribe to this channel because what Claire observed watching bison number 47 over 2 years is documented by university researchers as one of the clearest field examples of American bison social recovery behavior ever recorded on a working ranch. I had worked the Cross Ranch 6 years. 400 head of bison in the Absaroka foothills. In January, we found number 47 down in the North Pen. Not injured, just down. Body weight dropping. Not eating, not moving toward the herd. The way some animals go when something breaks that you can't see. Dr. Paul Reed arrived Wednesday. Assessed number 47 thoroughly. Said no physical injury. No infection markers. No treatable diagnosis. He said this animal has socially withdrawn from the herd. In bison, that's a terminal pattern. I recommend euthanasia before he suffers more. Gene Cross nodded. I sat down on the straw beside number 47. American bison documented by the National Bison Association are highly social animals with established dominance hierarchies that can be disrupted by early health events, crowding stress, or social displacement by a dominant animal. A bison that socially withdraws experiences measurable cortisol elevation that suppresses immune function and appetite in a documented physiological cascade. Travis Cole said it loud enough for everyone. That bison's already dead. It just doesn't know it. Gene Cross said Claire. Follow the vet's recommendation. I said Gene. Give me 72 hours. Gene looked at Travis. Looked at me. Said 72 hours. Then we do what Paul said. I stayed the first 3 nights in the pen. Not treating. Not feeding by hand. Just there. Talking sometimes. Quietly, moving when he shifted. Matching my position to what I observed made him least tense. On hour 51, he turned his head and put his nose against my knee. First contact he initiated in 3 days. In my view, the most important thing I understood sitting in that pen at 2 in the morning was this. Dr. Reed wasn't wrong medically. A bison that has socially withdrawn from its herd usually doesn't return. But the word usually contains a space that nobody talks about. That space is what I was sitting in at hour 51, when he put his nose on my knee. Hour 73, number 47 stood. On his own. Shaquille. 3 seconds. Then down again. I called Gene from inside the pen. Said, he stood. Gene said, how long? I said 3 seconds. He was quiet. Then said, okay, Claire. Your call from here? The USDA Agricultural Research Service documents a specific recovery protocol for socially withdrawn ruminants called gradual herd reintegration. The protocol involves positioning the withdrawn animal at the periphery of the herd's movement patterns without forcing contact until the animal initiates approach on its own terms. Time required documented range, 2 weeks to 4 months. Month 1, number 47 ate on his own. Month 2, he walked the pen perimeter without prompting. Month 3, he stood at the fence watching the main herd for 40 minutes, without moving away. That was the day I called Dr. Sarah Nair at the university, because what I was watching wasn't just recovery. It was something else building. Sarah Nair drove 4 hours, spent 2 days observing number 47, specifically watching his response to different animals approaching the fence. She said, Claire, this animal is not just recovering social function. He's assessing dominance positions in the herd through the fence. He's choosing where he intends to enter. I said, where? She said, the front. Travis Cole came to the fence month 4, watched for 20 minutes, said nothing, then said, he's different than he was. I said, he's stronger than he was. Travis said, how? I said, he had to come back on his own. Nothing carried him. That's different from a bison that was always strong. Every rancher who has an animal a vet has recommended euthanizing for non-injury withdrawal should ask one question. Is this a physiological failure or a behavioral one? The USDA-ARS Social Recovery Protocol for Withdrawn Ruminants is documented at rs.usda.gov. It's free to access. Dr. Reed was medically correct, and he was missing one category of documented recovery that Claire used. Month 5, Reintegration Day. Claire opened the connecting gate at 6 a.m. Stepped back, said nothing. Number 47 stood at the opening 7 minutes. Heard moving behind the gate. Then walked through. No hesitation. No rush. Walked to the center of the herd, stopped and stood still while every animal around him adjusted to where he was standing. 2 months after reintegration, number 47 was leading the herd. Not by force, not by aggression, by position. The herd moved when he moved, stopped when he stopped. Dr. Nair documented it over 6 weeks of behavioral observation, called it in her research notes post-withdrawal emergent dominance. A pattern she had read about but never seen. Dr. Nair submitted her observations to the Journal of Mammalian Behavior in March 2025. The title was Post-Social Withdrawal Dominance Emergence, Documented Case Study, American Bison, Cross Ranch, Wyoming. Claire Wade was listed as primary field observer. Bison number 47 was listed as the subject who showed them something the literature had predicted but not proven. Travis Cole came to Gene Cross 6 weeks after reintegration. Said, "I was wrong." 2 words. Gene said, "About what?" Travis said, "About number 47. And about Claire." Gene said, "Yes," Travis said, "I've been doing this 40 years. I've never seen that happen." Gene said, "That's because nobody sat with it long enough for it to..." Dr. Reed called Claire after the journal published. Said, "I was medically correct." Claire said, "You were." Dr. Reed said, "And you were right." Claire said, "I was looking at something different than you were." Dr. Reed said, "What were you looking at?" Claire said, "I was looking at what he would be if he came back, not at whether he would..." Gene Cross created a formal protocol for the Cross Ranch based on Dr. Nair's documentation and Claire's field observations. Called it the Social Recovery Observation Period, a mandatory 30-day assessment before any euthanasia recommendation for non-injury bison withdrawal is acted on. The National Bison Association requested a copy the following year. Every livestock rancher should know the difference between physiological failure and behavioral withdrawal in herd animals. The USDA Agricultural Research Service publishes specific documentation on social recovery protocols for cattle, sheep, and bison at rs.usda.gov. The National Bison Association at bisoncentral.com offers behavioral assessment guides free to any registered rancher. Bison number 47 leads the Cross Ranch herd today. Every morning, every movement, every shift in the field. 400 animals follow a bison that a vet marked for euthanasia in January, 2 years ago. And the woman who sat with him through 3 Wyoming nights in January straw still walks the pen every morning at dawn. Not to check on number 47. He doesn't need checking on. She just likes to see him at the front. Subscribe now. Share this with every rancher who has ever been about to give up on an animal that just needed someone to wait.